Welcome friends to a review on the 2026 Lexus RZ 450e luxury trim level. The way you see it here, this SUV, it stickers for around $58,000, $59,000. And let me tell you, this is one of the most impressive luxury vehicles that I have driven. No exaggeration, when I initially got this car and I drove it, the refinement level of this SUV, it reminded me of not a $60,000 vehicle, but a $360,000 Bentley. That's how quiet and isolated this SUV is. And quite frankly, there's no real bigger praise than that. Now there's a couple of different trim levels of this RZ. We have the entry-level RZ 350 models. Those only come in front-wheel drive. They make less power, but they also have the most amount of range at 301 miles. However, something to note about the 350e models, they are not available in something known as the luxury trim level like what we have here. This luxury trim level is going to be the quietest model that you can get. Things like this luxury trim level come with the double-paned thicker glass on the front and rear side windows. And because there is no luxury trim level of the RZ 350, you're not going to be getting this thicker glass being used. Then we have the RZ 450 models like what you see here. All of these models are going to come with all-wheel drive as standard. They have less range. What you see here, this luxury trim level will get about 257 miles of range. But being that this is the luxury, it just comes naturally fully loaded. And then there's the top-of-the-line RZ 550, which is essentially a performance model. It'll do 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. It'll have the worst range. So personally, I think sticking with this 450e model is perfect because this will still do 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. I mean, just in the normal mode, you're going to be dusting traffic. That's not even remotely an issue. However, what's impressive about the acceleration regarding this RZ is just how refined and progressive that acceleration can be in the eco and normal modes. And what do I mean by that? When you drive it normally, the acceleration, it's smooth, progressive. It's not going to pin you into the back of your seat. The occupants riding with you, they're going to appreciate that type of acceleration. And that smooth, calm acceleration can also help preserve your range as well. Because when you drive it more aggressively, that's going to certainly drain the available range that you have, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But if you do want to feel that instantaneous electric torque, just put this vehicle into its sport mode and you will really be pinned into the back of your seat. Now, one thing I don't like is the various drive modes that you can put this vehicle into. All those drive modes, they are buried into the infotainment. I wish there was a true physical button to help switch between the modes. That would be much easier. However, the one good thing is the vehicle will actually remember what mode you last drove in. But yeah, driving this SUV, it's been absolutely flawless. I have no real complaints with this car. The ride quality, it is sublime. We even have the 20-inch wheels here, and the 20s, they look amazing. I actually thought that they were 21s at first. They look larger than what they are, but yeah, these are 20s. The large bumps, small bumps, everything gets soaked up flawlessly. As mentioned before, just in the normal and the eco modes, you're already effortlessly passing all of the traffic, and you don't have any engine noise or a transmission to deal with, so it's truly like the ultimate luxury car experience. So yeah, I'm definitely not an electric car hater. It definitely has its purpose, but there's also cons associated with it. I'm definitely getting to that, but sticking to the drive, yeah, everything is pretty much perfect so far. Even the handling is pretty good. Most of the weight is down low, but don't get me wrong, you will still feel some lean in the corners when you're driving this super hard, and you can even get some subtle torque steer as well. But the direct 4 all-wheel drive system, it certainly does help out. It's not a big deal. Again, this vehicle, it has good performance, but it primarily promotes a calm, chill driving nature. We actually have a strut suspension in the front, and we have a double wishbone suspension in the rear. Even the brakes are quite good, easy to modulate around town, and even bringing this SUV to a stop after doing a high speed, even that's not an issue at all. Truly one of the finest driving experiences that you can get for under $60K for sure, especially when you consider the other Lexus vehicles like an RX, for instance, that is fully loaded, like the luxury trim levels. They're going to be close to $70K, and the plug-in hybrid version, of a luxury RX can even get up to almost 80K. I get it, this is a full EV, and I always say in my videos that, you know, the MSRP doesn't really matter when it comes to an EV because I personally recommend leasing this stuff. But the reason why I keep bringing up the MSRP is because I just want to let you know, like, this driving experience far exceeds the price that they are charging for this vehicle. Now, what are some of the cons? Well, I was alluding to this before. The range, it's definitely not amazing. I mean, 257 miles of range, that's when you charge it up to 100%. Really, with an electric car, you're not supposed to be doing that. You should only be charging up to 80%. And when you do that, you should be getting roughly 200 miles of range, right? Well, the way I drive, I mean, I'm getting really closer to 160 miles of range when I'm at 80% charge. That's not brilliant. Obviously, I'm more of an aggressive driver, and I am not sacrificing any of my luxury features that we have with this vehicle. I got the AC blasting, I got the cooled seats going on. So with all of that, yeah, I'm getting roughly 160 miles at 80% charge. And the harder you drive, like, the worse the range gets. But regarding the cons of the drive, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's where it ends. As mentioned before, everything else is perfect. Even out on the highway, the stability is great. And even then, just in the normal mode, I'm able to accelerate and still gain speed and pass people out on the highway without any issues at all. Now, there's still more to talk about, so let's transition into the interior segment now. Okay, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space. In general, I've noticed that with 2026 model year Lexus vehicles like the NX, the RX, and even this RZ, the interior quality, it is definitely rather sturdy. The doors feel quite heavy and strong. It's almost Audi-esque, quite frankly, the solidity of this cabin and the doors. There's some subtle creaking going on near the cup holder area, but really that's not a big deal. Everything else feels rather good. Same thing with the dash area as well. Now, another reason why I like the luxury models like what you see here is because we have this ultra suede interior space in the seats. You don't get that with the regular premium models and the base models. They all come with like a new luxe material, which is fine, but this ultra suede, it reminds me of my Lexus LC500 seats, and even the comfort kind of matches the LC seats as well. So it's very impressive. I love the way it looks. Nice, comfortable material. Even after long driving sessions, I don't really feel fatigued. We do have some adjustable lumbar here, of course, for the driver. And it's good, but it's not like that super strong type of lumbar where it feels like you just put a balloon against your back. So it's not that strong, but I find this to be rather good lumbar support for sure. And that ultra suede material, it also continues on the door panels as well. A very premium feeling material for sure. And this interior, it's like that blue color matches perfectly with the ether exterior color. I know this is the interior space, but I have to talk about the exterior as well. I personally think that this vehicle looks incredible. That ether blue color, it's like a bluish silver, reminds me of the diamond silver that Mercedes offered on the S-Class, except this is a little bit more so on the blue side. Just a very premium, unique color for sure. In fact, there was even a gentleman who gave me a thumbs up when I was driving around in this. So yeah, people seem to really be enjoying this. The big 20-inch wheels and this blue interior. I mean, everything about this, just like the perfect spec in my opinion. There's also like a Palomino interior color that you can get with this ultra suede material on the luxury trims as well. That also looks stunning. And there's like a full black interior as well. Now, these luxury trim levels, they naturally come fully loaded. Really, the only things you can add are things like the digital mirror for an additional $200, but that's about it. Everything else you just get as standard, like the heated and ventilated seats in the front, the heated seats in the back, the 360 camera, the Mark Levinson audio system, which sounds incredible, nice clear sound, while still offering strong bass, but you get the large infotainment screen, the digital gauge cluster, the heads-up display, you get everything. And of course, we have the wireless Apple CarPlay, the Android Auto, and the wireless phone charging pad. Some of the cons that I can mention, I noticed that this infotainment, it's a little bit slower to respond. It's the first time I've ever experienced that. Usually with these Toyota Lexus vehicles, the infotainment responds almost immediately. But with this, when I switch from the Apple CarPlay to the actual Lexus infotainment, there's a subtle delay. Just thought that I would mention it. I like the size of the steering wheel and also this material. It's kind of like on the rubbery side. I don't really know what this is, but it's very nice to grip onto, and this is a heated steering wheel as well. You have a digital shifter here, you got 2 big cup holders, but a con is definitely going to be the lack of a glove box. That's really bizarre and strange. So all of your manuals and your books, you just have to keep them in the center armrest. So that means you don't really have much center armrest space, unfortunately. But we do have like this floating console design, so we do have a large kind of storage bin underneath the center console, so if you need to put like a large purse or something, there you go, there's some space there. We also do have the sunglass holder, we have the garage door home link, and one amazing feature about this vehicle, it's going to be the digital sky glass roof. I love this. It's a fixed pano moonroof, so it doesn't open or close or anything, but it doesn't have to because it's got like that electric kind of technology where you can press a button and it goes from a frosted look to a transparent look. Love that. Everybody that's been in this vehicle, they've been really impressed with that feature. However, I have noticed that if you're parking this vehicle outside, the interior space, it does get quite hot, and it takes quite a long time for you to cool down this interior space as well. So that's something to watch out for if you're parking this outside. Now let's talk about the rear seats. So I am 5'11". Getting in and out of this SUV, that's not remotely an issue. And we continue to have the very comfortable ultra suede seats in the back. And the legroom looks good, but in actuality, it's not that great because, again, I'm 5'11". When I sit behind myself, the issue I have is these front seats are mounted too low. So I don't have any foot room for me to stretch out. And because this is a full EV, we have this battery pack below, right? So even at my height, my knees are kind of sitting up higher, and that's not super comfortable. And you can imagine individuals who are even taller than me, like 6'2", this issue is going to be even more pronounced. So yeah, if Lexus at least mounted these seats up a bit higher and gave us some more toe room, that would go a long way. So that is something to watch out for, and I'm definitely going to label that as a con. But we do have the heated seats in the back. We do have the vents back there as well. And overall, this SUV, it is a little bit smaller than the Lexus RX, both in terms of the overall length and also the width. And you do kind of notice that inside of the cabin, the interior, it does feel a bit more narrow than the RX. Again, not a dramatic difference. The width, it's only like an inch narrower, and the overall length is about 2 inches less. However, the trunk capacity, it is quite impressive. It's like a 35 cubic foot trunk. That's great, very practical. You can of course fold down the rear seats. No spare tire in the back, you just have some storage, but we do not have a front trunk. But yeah, that's pretty much my look at the interior space of this RZ450e. Let's go ahead and let's conclude this review now. Okay, concluding thoughts on the 2026 Lexus RZ 450e. Well, as you can see from the driving segment, I'm a huge fan of the way this vehicle drives and feels. It is so quiet, so comfortable, and because it's an EV, it's rather quick as well. So no issues with the drive. The interior, it's quite solid. Of course, there's quirks with it. We don't have a glove box. In general, it's a bit more narrow compared to something like an RX, but the trunk space is good. The rear seats, it's kind of average. Like I mentioned before, the front seats, they're mounted too low, so that's a bit of a con for me. But for the most part, it's a fine package. I like it, but this is a full EV with rather poor range. That's the main issue here. But if you understand that and you buy this correctly and you use it the way that you probably should, which is as a second or third vehicle that you primarily run errands with, then you will love this vehicle. But the big counter argument is, why not just get a plug-in hybrid? After all, Lexus produces 3 excellent plug-in hybrids, the NX, RX, and TX. I'm even reviewing a RAV4 plug-in hybrid right now, the new one, and that does like 50 miles of pure EV range. And it's a good question, but what I realized with the plug-in hybrids is you should be going through the fuel that's in the fuel tank every few months, or else the fuel will go stale. So it's just something that you have to keep up with. You shouldn't just purely be driving on the EV range alone if you have a plug-in hybrid. Not to mention, charging at home, that's not exactly free, even if you only drive like 500 miles a month. Typically, your electric bill, it's gonna go up by $15 to $25 per month. Again, that's just an estimate, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna be charging anyway, and you still have range anxiety, again, it makes sense if you already have your full gas-powered vehicle, and then you have this on the side that you can commute in and take short trips in and not have to worry about fuel. It's just a pure EV. You charge it at night or whatever the case might be, and you get to lavishly and comfortably do your everyday drives. that's fantastic. And you still have your gas-powered vehicle for those longer trips when you need it. So this is a great lease option, once again, as a second or third vehicle. I definitely would not recommend this as your only car. In fact, I don't really recommend that for any EV. I get it, things like this RZ, it's got the NACS port and all of that, but still, it's just too limited to have as your only car, but that's just me. And comment below, let me know your thoughts regarding plug-in hybrid vehicles as well. I still love plug-in hybrids, but just know you should be using the fuel that's in the vehicle as well. It's just something that you have to manage, and when you have a pure EV, there's really nothing to manage there, of course. So I like the RZ, and if you need help negotiating a lease, I will have a free leasing calculator linked in the description box of this video. If you found value with this review, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.